Hey everyone. Okay, just welcoming everybody in now. Hello, hello. Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Let's just see what's happening. Everyone's coming in now. It's really good to see you guys. Hello, hello. It's lovely to see you. So let's have a look. I know that Nicola's going to be a couple of minutes late because she's just sorting her daughter out before she joins us. Hi, Maddie. It's good to see you. And Kate, I don't know if you just saw Kate's post in the group. I'm not sure that she's going to make it or not. She's actually taken today as her first day with no refined sugar, and she's having a bit of a hard time, I think, this evening. So she said she's going to try and join, but she'll just see how she feels. It's good to see you guys. I'm going to just ask you guys to unmute for a second. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it'd be nice to hear your voices. The dog has literally just started speaking as I say that. I'm really sorry for my squinty eyes tonight, guys. I'm just literally at the very tail end of a migraine, and I've had a really Friday evening and Saturday was horrendous. Today has been better this afternoon. I'm just at the tail end, and I was at this point earlier today where I was like, oh, am I going to make it to tonight? And I'm pleased that I'm here with you guys. So I've made it, which is amazing. So I would love to know how you're all feeling, what's going on with you. Yeah, what you've been up to this week. I know it's been a bit of a week with some of you going through things like half term and stuff like that. So Laura, I'm going to just come to you. So how are you? How's your week been? Just nothing fancy. Just give us a quick snapshot, because I know you've been in half term crazy as well. Yeah. Lots of things going on for you. So how's your week been?
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Half term, 3 young kids at home. It was the last week of my having guests in the Shepherd's Huts. So that's finished now. We've had a lovely week. My kids have rated me a Googleplex for not being a shouty mummy. So it's really nice. That means so much to me. But I know I'm back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying now to work out how I can not be a shouty mummy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a journey. It is a journey, and it's, you know, especially when you're feeling like you've been through this lovely time, you've had this break, and then it's like back into this zone where you can feel your emotions rising, your stress rising, and things like that. And it's really hard to maintain those boundaries, isn't it? It's really tough.
I feel a lot better for it. I've started being a lot more organized with like the household chores and things.
Brilliant.
And that is making a real difference. Yeah. If I can walk out the house in the morning and know I've got dinner in the slow cooker, and you know I'm not going to come home to a bomb site.
Yeah.
It's just, I've never really been one of those people, but it's making a massive difference.
Yeah, it does. And I think, Maddie, you'll probably be able to resonate, because I know one of Maddie's things that you've shared before is that actually you've been on this little mission to create a more organized home space and, you know, ticking off some of those items on the to-do list. And you've said the same, haven't you, that it's made a real massive difference for you?
Yeah, I don't think my flat's ever been like it. God, that's my mission, isn't it? What was that? Sorry.
It's funny because I'm not like, I don't have a show home, you know, but actually I really value having the clean and tidy house, because it helps me to feel more on top of things. And when I'm feeling more on top of things, even if like the washing is shoved in the machine and I haven't switched it on yet, or I've got a pile of stuff upstairs to put away, actually it's that sense of sort of feeling like you're a little bit ahead of the game. And actually in my podcast that's coming out tomorrow, I talk a little bit about that, and about letting life flow, and about how sometimes it's helpful to kind of get a bit ahead of the game, because then you're sort of like, I call it like playing the life game. You're like almost a couple of steps ahead of where you should be, and it feels good to do that. You know, and even some of those things like buying some birthday cards for people that are like a month or next month, you're like, yes, ka-ching, I've nailed that one. That's really good. You know, it feels good when you do that.
Yeah, I was walking through York today, you know, through the centre of town, and I felt more confident. I don't know. I just felt like I was holding my head up high, because, you know, I feel I've got more control in my life.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. And when you've got that sense of control, you feel more together, you know, on the whole. So Val, how about you? How's your week been? What you've been up to?
I've had a few days off work, which has been good for me. And hi, Nicola, and hi everyone. It's been great. I've literally just done stuff for me, and I've loved it. And I've not spent too much time at home writing as I should have done, but I've done things like just going out, enjoying walks. You know, I went around to Old Portsmouth on Friday, just looking at sort of old doors and just having a lovely time, really. And then I've just realised I've got 2 pairs of glasses on. And I've got no double vision. These are reading glasses, so I can see you all in beautiful Technicolor, and those are my long distance.
Amazing. Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. But I've just had a lovely time. I have listened to the content this week, but I've not written anything. But I will be doing that. But I just wanted to just have time off and doing nothing, but just going for nice muddy dog walks and just having a lovely time.
Just enjoying the connection with yourself. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
so
it.
Nicola, I've asked everyone if they want to unmute, so I'm going to send you an unmute invite, and I'm just really just checking in and just saying, like, how are you doing? How's your week been? Just very, very general to begin with. So yeah, over to you.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So how's my week been? Well, it's been busy because it's been half term, and so I've had Holly with me all week. And I've been trying desperately to fill the time because it's been rainy and horrible, and not wanting to we haven't done some of the traditional Halloween things, so I've been trying to make up other things to do, so it has been really busy. And obviously there's been quite a lot, there's a lot of other stuff sort of going on, so I have done all the content this week, but I don't feel like I've spent enough time on it, if I'm honest, this week. I think I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I have on previous weeks where I've been able to do it during the day. I've been kind of snatching 10-15 minutes here and there, so I don't feel like I've given the week as much focus and attention as it probably deserves. But there has been some really interesting observations, I think, about my beliefs and how my beliefs kind of manifest themselves when I kind of least expect it, really. And some of the things where I really struggled to be writing things down, particularly positive things, and then giving it a break for a couple of days, coming back to it, and then writing lots, and then I keep seeing these things come to life, actually, which has been really
so now you've written it, you're kind of seeing them play out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been really interesting, but I do feel like I think I could have done more, I guess. But then that's one of the things I wrote down. I'm quite hard on myself all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And there's that thing that sometimes we always think that what we're doing isn't enough. And actually what you've done is enough. It's enough for where you've been this week, the energy you've had, the time, the focus you've had. And that is enough. It is enough. So you never have to worry for yourself. And I know this is part of how we feel sometimes. And like you say, how your beliefs show up, that sometimes you feel like I could have done more. And the truth is we can always do more. Like my husband always used to say to me in my previous sort of job, when will your work be done? And I was like, my work is never done. I could work for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's always work that I could do or could find to do. I was like, but I choose to finish it at a certain point, because otherwise we can always do more. We always want to stretch ourselves. And especially, you guys are, have a growth kind of mindset. You're interested in developing and doing these things, and you're invested in it, which is fantastic, of course. But it's sometimes it can show itself in that, I could have done more, or I could have done it differently and maybe got a different result. And maybe that would happen. But where you are this week is absolutely where you need to be, and obviously I know that half term, it brings its challenges as well. And that's why also with this program, yes, we go through it week by week together, but what you'll also find is that the things that I talked about in week 1 will show up in week 2 and 3. The things that we're talking about next week with habits, we already sort of talked about those a little bit in week 2. So, there are sort of different links, and you'll find that as we go through, there'll be different things that you think, oh, well, I'll just go back to that a bit now because I've moved, my head's there on that thing now. And you can join the dots later on, and you've got plenty of space at the end to kind of go back and rework those things too. So So I want to acknowledge as well, obviously we had the announcement yesterday about the national lockdown, which I didn't want to go into as such, but I do want to acknowledge that, you know, that puts a new lens on things for people. And whilst I know it's not the same necessarily as what we've had before, you know, it's another change for people. It's another period of like life being different, when people are feeling like we're starting to move through into sort of maybe some light towards the end of the tunnel and things like that. And I know that can make it feel really uncertain, but actually in a way you're in the perfect place, because what that might do is bring up some of those unhelpful thought patterns, you know, the unhelpful things, and it brings your mind to them and it brings your awareness to them in a place where you can feel completely held and supported. So I think that in a way it's a great thing that you guys are all here, because it means that we can tackle those things together. So, you know, whilst, as I say, I'm not going to kind of go on and on about COVID and lockdown, and I want our space, there's enough of that out there. And I'm sure with your other friends and family and everything you see on the news and social, there's enough out there. So I want to keep this like a safe space where it's just about, let's keep that stuff out. It's there. We're not ignoring it. We are acknowledging it. But what we're doing here is we're just saying, like, let's have this focus on it not being that doom and gloom, and let's acknowledge it for what it is, but let's think about how we can really constructively work together and move past it. So hopefully you guys are with me in that vibe, because I think that sometimes, yeah, news is good, it's helpful, it's interesting, sometimes it's not. But, you know, actually it's about focusing on what's really important. And I want you to be able to come here and not be distracted by all the other noise that's around you, and just to come here to hang out and just have that peace from it all. So there weren't any questions this week either, so I was curious about whether anyone had any questions that came up during the sessions itself. So if you have, you can either pop it into the questions box, or if you just put your name in the question box, if you want to ask me your question straight up, then I can just make sure that nobody's talking over each other when we're trying to have a conversation. And that will be great. There was quite a bit of work to do this week. That belief section, I was quite challenging in terms of asking you to come up with quite a few, especially around that inner dialogue bit, where I was trying to get you to come up with at least 10 things that go through your mind. But to balance it then with those positive things, it takes quite a lot of thought. So if you only manage 3 of those, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you know, anything you're doing is making progress, and there'll be some weeks that you find you have a bit more time and energy to focus on this, and other times where, like this week, it's actually about focusing on other things and living life and enjoying life and really connecting to those things. So yeah, Nicola, go for it.
I think I had a question around the inner dialogue, actually. As you said, I didn't haven't done 10, but some of the things that I did write down, I guess I just want to check I'm on the right lines with my balance between the negative and the positive.
Yeah, go
perhaps. For it. So for example, my first negative I put, and I just took it from the types of things I hear myself thinking, I guess, and that's what I was writing down.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so I'm thinking I'm no good at sales and marketing, and I don't like it. It's one of the things I say quite a lot, and obviously it's a huge part of what I need to do in order to build my business. Yeah. But I tell myself I don't like it, and I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
And I hear myself say it quite a lot, so I wrote that one down. And then for the positives, I wrote down that I do have the knowledge and the skills to do it, even if I don't like it. It's something that I have.
Yeah.
I can ask for help to do this.
Yes.
And to remember that it's just about communicating and building relationships.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they are. Well, I guess my question is, should the positive things be ways to reframe the negative, or is it other things to help deflect your attention from it being negative? I guess
it could be either. So I've left it purposefully broad, because sometimes for people, like, reframing it is a bit of a big step. So I think when you can look at it and you can say, right, what's the negative, but then what's the positive? So like this whole I'm no good at sales and marketing stuff, but it's like, but I am good at talking to people. You know, I am good at writing things down, or, you know, communicating in a social media post, or, you know, whatever some of those things are that you said. So I think to have the positives that almost balance out that particular negative is a great movement for you, because what that means is that when you're having that negative thought, and you're sat there saying to, oh, goodness sake, I'm no good at communicating. And you go, oh, hang on a second, I am good at communicating.
Yeah.
I am good at, telling people what I do and how it's going to benefit them. And it's almost like you can use those positives to interrupt where you hear yourself saying the negative.
Yep.
So it's almost like having like the shoulders, like think about, which ones, where do you hear that negative? Do you hear it more in your left ear or your right ear? Or vice versa, actually, for me, I'm doing backwards. I told you my head's a bit frazzled still. I'm at the tail end of a migraine, Nicola, so I might just not be pinpoint perfect tonight. So whichever way you're doing, then, just trying to think, interrupt it with those things. So I think they're really, really helpful if you can have them, so that the positives actually allow yourself to link with those negatives.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Absolutely along the right lines. But do you know what, if it doesn't matter, so if some of you have done it differently, you've just listed all the negatives and then you've listed a load of positives, it doesn't matter how you've done it, because you'll be able to find those links yourself. So yeah, great question. And it's often, a lot of people find it a lot easier to go with negative things first.
Yeah.
It's almost like you feel like it's your brain like wants you to think negatively about things, and it's like, because that comes so easily. And then when you have to think, all right, what are the positives, and you have to really rethink them, that can be a bit of a challenge. It's just, a lot easier to think about negative thoughts. Okay, great question. Our minds are powerful, aren't they? And actually, just by interrupting some of those thought patterns, it really does make a difference. I mean, even if you can literally sit here and do this. Like, you can say to yourself, pick one of those things that's on your list maybe, and you start saying to yourself, I'm no good at doing this. I can't do it. It's impossible for me. Everything I try is difficult. And it's like you literally feel the life energy draining out of you. As you say, you can feel yourself almost sort of shriveling down. Whereas when you start to say, like, I am good at communicating, I'm great at making things look beautiful, or I can walk into any room and add the perfect furnishings, or whatever it might be, that simple change of language changes your whole physiology. And it really is, it's like a scientific fact. The chemistry all changes. So the moment that you start, even if you don't fully believe it yet, and some of your affirmations, when you're thinking about those things, they might be aspirational. You may not fully like own the whole thing yet, but the more you say it, the more you step into it, the more your brain goes, okay, yeah, I get this now, I'm with it, and starts to allow you to believe in it more. And then the more you're training your body to say, yeah, I like this feels good, the more likely is you're going to choose those positive behaviors or use that positive affirmation, or that kind of language with yourself, more over the negative. I'm going to try and enjoy my cup of tea warm tonight. All right, brilliant, great question. And this is an activity that you can just keep coming back to. So, and in fact, what's really interesting about this is once you feel like you've tackled that kind of first layer of inner dialogue, you look back at this list in a year, a couple of years, and you'll be like, nailed all those things, but there's a whole new set of stuff that you've been working on. So it's about the layers and uncovering it. And actually, but the more you do it, the more you become aware of it, the more you notice it and you can interrupt it. The more, it's like it's a practice, and it's a skill. You tend to find that you're acknowledging those things a bit easier, and they don't become as stuck and as set. So like, I notice if I'm saying to myself now, I can't possibly do that, it's like, come on, Amy, you can do that. It just feels difficult for some reason. And that might be because I've then said to myself, so why does it feel difficult then? And it's almost like I have this little conversation to myself, like, why does it feel difficult then? Well, I've never done it before. I don't know the tech to use. I'm a bit scared that I might make a fool of myself or whatever. So you kind of then allow yourself to vocalize those things that are getting in the way, because then it's information, it's useful information, and then you can move through from that and move past it. Yeah, super helpful. Okay, anybody else got any questions or queries, or you want me to go back over anything that you did?
I'm still stuck on how to, I'm so sorry to have to revisit this, but I'm still finding it hard. Like I find now that I'm time poor because I've just got so many interests and everything. And I'm finding it hard just to say, well, I'll get up at say 8 o'clock one day, say on a Sunday,
Yeah.
and then at 6:15 on a weekday.
Yeah.
And I still find it really hard in the mornings to fit in things like the mantras,
Yeah.
the physio exercise I have to do.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of a rush.
It's finding,
Especially
yeah, I
weekday.
think that's a great question. It's finding your own way, Maddie, really. I mean, for some people, doing those things first thing in the morning just doesn't work for everything else they've got to fit in. And so, yes, it's ideal if you can wake up and do those things first thing, because it helps to really get your head in the right space for the day. And I definitely find a difference. Like even if I'm just waiting for the kettle to boil and I'm just thinking about my day ahead and I'm thinking about my mantras, or I'm thinking about something I want to achieve, like I find like that's better than the day when I'm like dragged out of bed by Cameron and it's like I don't have time to think for myself. I find it like, right, I need to just stop for a second a bit later and then to reconnect. And so some people, actually the evening is better. Or can you do any multitasking? So multitasking is, I've got mixed views on this, right? But there are some times where it's useful. So for example, can you have your affirmation or your mantra on a sticky note in your bathroom? So when you're brushing your teeth, I'm not going to get you to say it because that would be crazy, but can you at least be playing it over in your mind while you're brushing your teeth? Or can
That's a
you
really good
think
idea.
about where you do your physio exercises? Can you have it written down so that while you're doing the exercises, you're sort of concentrating on getting yourself in the right position for your physio exercises, but then you're doing your, repeating your affirmation or thinking about what you want to achieve for the day. So there might be some benefit to you in thinking about what are the activities that maybe have a little bit of space for another part to them, so that don't require your full mindful concentration on that particular thing. And it doesn't have to be the same every day. So actually with your physio exercises, in a way, having your full concentration on how your body feels, how does it compare to this time yesterday, that could be quite useful. But once you've maybe done your first set of exercises, you could do a bit of your mantra. So there's no real hard and fast rule. I love to encourage you guys to do it first thing in the morning, because I know that makes a big difference to just how it sets up your head for the day. But if it doesn't work for you, then that's completely fine. You can just find a way that does. I mean, when going back probably a year or so ago, and I was really sort of in quite a good process with this, I went through a stage where I would come downstairs and I'd make myself a cup of tea and it was really nice. And I'd have at least 15-20 minutes to myself first thing in the morning. And I was in a lovely rhythm with it and it felt really good. And then all of a sudden, Cameron went through a stage of, I don't know, like laser sharp waking up as soon as he'd heard my alarm. I'd come downstairs, I'd flick the kettle on and he'd be there and I'd be like, this is my time, you're interrupting my time. And of course, I wanted to be there for him, but I just had to find an alternative way of doing things. So I started just being really creative with how I would do things. So I might make myself a drink, get him sorted, we'd sit down and have a play. And then I would say, right, I'm just going to go off and I'm going to make breakfast. So he would know that I'm making breakfast. But while I was doing that, I'm also then like having some space to write down my intention for the day and what I want to achieve. And like for him, I'm just taking a long time making breakfast, but it enabled me to have those couple of minutes just to think, right, what do I need to get my head into first thing? So have the freedom, Maddie, to be creative in how you want to do things. And in fact, the more creative, the better, because I think it makes it fun.
Yeah.
And I'm all about injecting some fun into this.
That's so helpful. Thank you. And I'm not very creative, as you probably noticed, but yeah, that's really helpful.
And if anyone has any other ideas for Maddie or for each other around like how you guys do things, then share that as well, because sometimes you just hear how somebody does something differently and you think, that wouldn't quite work for me, but if I take a bit of this and a bit of that, let's give that a go and see how it works. So just experiment with it and have some fun.
Because I like to fill this out every day.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, your tracker.
The what?
The best day tracker.
Yeah, that's it. Fab. And there are various things that sort of need to be done. So, like the physio exercises, the mantra. So but it always feels better when you've done them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just think about where it feels okay to combine your tasks, where one's not, you're not doing it for the detriment of the other, but actually combining it could feel quite good and actually might get things done a bit for you as well.
Thank you.
That's all right. Great questions, guys. Okay, anything else? Anything that anyone's struggling with at the moment and would really benefit from a bit of a kind of pep talking, or something you're wrangling with in your head that you'd benefit from me asking some questions on? All right, fingers going up straight away. I'm not sure who was first there, whether it was Val or Laura, but Laura kept her finger up for longer, so I reckon she's all there for perseverance. So go on then, Laura.
Okay, so I haven't had much time to do my work in the book this week, but I've just whizzed out I've done 9 inner dialogue things, 9 negatives, and then 9 times 3 positives, and I'm really chuffed. But now I'm on to the affirmations. And I've come off Facebook for various reasons, so I won't see what you guys put on the group. But I'm really struggling. Is that one thing, or can it be lots of things, or is this one meant to be like one thing? Obviously,
No,
I haven't watched the video.
It could be
Sorry.
anything. So the video for this one is super quick, actually. It's about 3.5 minutes. But to give you an idea, I actually did, I don't know if I can share it. Let me see if I can bring it up on my screen and I can show you guys.
I'm quite happy to go and watch
share
it
this in the
after
group.
this. I don't want to take everyone's time.
No, it's absolutely fine. So with an affirmation, I think, Nicola, you did 4 bullet point lines, didn't you? Maddie, you had a bit of a longer list. You might have had 7 or 8. And that's okay. It's fine. It's whatever. And if I just show you what I did, I only shared this into the Facebook group literally this evening because I'd meant to share it during the week. And this was my original affirmation. Now, I have written in the group that this is like the final draft of my first affirmation. So I had loads of screwed up bits of paper before I got to this point. And I was trying to think, like, what are all these beliefs that I hold about myself? What are all the negatives that are getting in the way? And how do I need to flip those into feeling really empowered rather than keeping myself stuck? And so I created this, and it was almost like a statement for me. So with a series of affirmations, but I would read it through top to bottom, and I would read it through 3 times, 4 times sometimes, and then I would come back to it time and time again. And in fact, it's really interesting because even though I've moved away from this now, it's still totally relevant. And when I read it, I still feel the feelings that I used to feel when I was reading it. So, and I think the way you say it is important as well, because when you first start with your affirmation, you might be like, I'm strong and determined. But actually, if you say to yourself, like, I'm strong and determined to make conscious decisions and choices which lead me to a healthy and happy lifestyle, I go beyond people's fears and limitations to create my life. And you really allow yourself to like feel it and step into it. That makes a really, really big difference. And even if you're not at the stage where you're 100% like believing it, you've got to kind of embrace it as if you do believe it. So you've got to, just for this exercise, you've got to pretend I believe in this vision wholeheartedly. It's possible. It's mine. I can do this. And in fact, that's even an affirmation in itself. Like, I believe in me. I am possible. I can do all the things I set my mind to. You know, I know that I'm creative when I sit down and allow myself to be. Like, the words can be anything that you want them to be. So it really doesn't matter what's in your affirmation. The only real important thing about your affirmation is that it needs to be empowering. It needs to be positive. So I know I picked up something that Nicola had in yours. And I think, Nicola, I don't know whether you saw my comments, but yours was like really straightforward, sort of 4 lines. And one of the things that Nicola has said in her affirmation was that I'm debt free, which on the face of it, you think that's a really positive thing to do. But the word debt is still quite a word that carries quite a lot of negativity sometimes, you know, because actually we don't want to be in debt. We want to be debt free, but the 2 words almost cancel each other out. So by kind of saying I'm financially free or I'm abundant when it comes to money, you know, it just changes it really, really subtly, but it makes all the difference. So Laura, when you're thinking about your beliefs and those negatives and the positives, you can bring some of those positives and you can build them up even more. or
Yeah.
you can look at where you've got the negatives and you can think, right, if that was the negative of the belief for me, what would that take for me to change that into a positive belief? And then that can form part of your affirmation. And I can work with you guys on this as well. So if you've got a bunch of words and sentences and you're like, I'm not sure how to fit this into an affirmation, just put something down on paper, and then I can help you just to tailor it slightly to give it even more power and punch than you might do on the first go. Because I know for mine, this was like several attempts. And like I was a little bit tentative in the beginning and a little bit like, oh, I'll just go with what feels okay. But actually, you need to go with what feels like bloody amazing. You don't want to go with like what feels like, oh, that's a nice, easy next step. You want to feel like, what's it going to take for me to just step into and live this best life? What are the things that are important to me and how am I going to start living them? Because if it doesn't feel a bit scary and it doesn't feel like you're really stepping into it, then you won't feel as much of a stretch, and therefore the effort and the energy put in won't be as much. But when you set yourself this really bold affirmation, it allows you to really imagine what is truly possible and then step towards that.
Okay.
So really long answer to your question, Laura. Does that help?
That's, yeah, it has, because I was thinking whether it needs to be very specific in one area.
Yeah,
but it can just be everything.
It is.
So
And
good.
if you feel like you've got one particular area that is really, really important to you, and that is the only area that if you could focus on one area and that area only, and that's what you want to do, you can totally focus on that area.
Yeah.
So if for me it was about well-being, I might say every day I feel good about the movement I'm making in my life, the steps I'm taking. It could be about I feel good that I'm staying well hydrated. You know, you can tailor it around certain parts of your life.
Yeah.
But I find that it's much it feels much more holistic if you're embracing like the other things that are important as well.
Yeah.
So you can see, I mean, I'm happy to pop mine on email, or Laura, if you want to drop me a message or whatever, you know, I can send you a copy of that. But yeah, I think mine's pretty like all encompassing. It was about, I've just got it on my screen here. It's about making conscious decisions and choices leading towards a happy and healthy lifestyle, going beyond other people's fears and limitations, which is what I was talking about a little bit last week, I think, when I was saying that sometimes what other people want you to do is their limitations. They worry for you because it's not in their belief system, their limitations to do. So it was about I'm strong and I take steps to move me closer to my vision. My dream life is in my grasp, and the steps I take each day move me closer. So notice I'm not saying in this what the steps are, but I'm saying that what I'm doing is every step I'm taking is moving me towards that. And so that was also a really good checkpoint for me to say, if the steps I'm taking aren't moving me closer towards that, they're the wrong steps. I need to get back on track. So yeah, so I had quite a few different things in that, and about my intuition and trusting what I felt was right in the process of life, and that all the steps I was going to take were going to lead me to where I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's good. I thought mine was going to be like just one sentence about one thing, but it's not. I've like this last few weeks have really made me realize that just everything all ties into one.
Yeah.
So thank you, Amy.
Yeah, that's okay. Have a go at it, and I'm happy to have a look and offer some suggestions if you want me to. Really happy. And you'll probably find that your affirmations, all of you actually, they will evolve and change. So you might be using that, and then one day you'll suddenly realize you're closer to that affirmation than you were a few weeks ago or a few months ago, and then your affirmation will change and evolve, and that's perfect. That's ideal. Okay. Brilliant. So Val, you had something as well.
Well, mine was basically that whilst I've been really positive this last 2.5, 3 days, well, actually 4 days, because I've not been at work, I felt that creeping back in at about 7:15 this evening. That sudden realization that, oh God, you know, when I wake up in the morning, it's bloody work again. Yeah. And I know, without even thinking about it, it's going to be horrendous, and I'll be just in that stress zone. But I really don't want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, as much as I'm trying to knock the negative thought processes out, they're coming so fast at me now before bedtime, you know, and trying to just say to myself, no, let's you're awesome, Val. You're going to be great. It's going to be fine. You're going to be very chill tomorrow. You're not going to jump down anybody's throat. You're not going to, want to put your fist through the laptop screen by 8:05 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying hard not to
Yeah.
do that. It is difficult for me. And I know that doing this program is great. Having time away from work is so super great for me.
Yeah.
That I need to focus on keeping the positives very firmly at the forefront of my mind, but trying to find positive things to write down. When I listened to the content earlier, and I thought I didn't have the energy to write anything down, and literally while I was listening to the things that we tell ourselves, everything was like negative, negative, negative. And I was sat there. Oh no, I wasn't sat there actually. I was making my dinner and I was listening to it in the kitchen. And I was like, what are you doing? This is the Sunday of the past. This isn't the Sunday of the present and the future. This is how it used to be many months ago. Every Sunday evening it was like, oh, the dread.
Yeah.
So it's finding a way to stop that.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
can't find
ultimately, the only way you'll stop that is by removing that stress from your life. But in reality,
just bring another stress.
Yeah, exactly. In reality, there is something about, yes, coming back to those positivities. Now, I heard when you were saying, like, I'm not going to put my fist through the laptop, and I know we're joking and things, but actually, even by saying to yourself, I'm not going to do this, your brain cancels out the word not. It's like if you say to a child, don't spill that, or whatever you do, don't trip over, like boom, the brain kicks in, deletes the don't, and the kid trips over. Like, I know this, I've really had to work on changing my language. So the thing when you're thinking, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'd like you to try and really focus on what you're going to do instead. So you might say that when I get that person that phones me up and demands this information at short notice, or whatever the scenario is for you, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to ask them to hold for a minute. I'm going to put myself on mute. And there may be, you can make up whatever's right for you, but then you might say to yourself, right, I'm just going to say, right, I'm grateful for this to be presented to me right now, because this gives me a chance to really set my boundaries and parameters. Right, I'll mute. No, I can't do that today. Whatever. So actually, you can interrupt that pattern whilst it's actually in motion. So, and think to yourself now that all those things that you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to react to this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. What are you going to do instead? And that's what I really, really would love you to focus on for this next week and tomorrow in particular. Now, the Sunday night blues, if you really dread work and you're really like, work isn't your passion and your love, and actually if you could quit it tomorrow, you probably would, then actually getting up and getting motivated and getting into work, like that's hard. That is really, really hard. And that's why you get so many people that like go off sick on a Monday morning and those kind of things. In fact, not so much now. I was reading some stats that said that something like there's a 33% reduction in people calling in sick at the moment. I think it's because people are hiding at home. When they're not doing the work, they don't have to go into work.
Exactly.
They're fine. But it's quite interesting when you think about the stress and the anxiety sometimes that's caused by doing work that you feel stressed out by. So a couple of different things. So one, maybe change the language that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Two is make sure that you're doing those things for you before you start up your computer or your everybody else's demands. And also, I think the thing to remember is you are, however you're showing up to do your job, make sure that you're keeping your boundaries intact as well, because it's really easy. And I know you've talked before about your job being quite demanding and people contacting you all kinds of days and different time zones and things. Really be firm and focus on your boundaries. So if you're going to have lunch and you've told yourself, I'm going to go for a walk today at 12:30, and then someone wants to have a meeting at 12:30, even if it might be a really important meeting, like to really focus on staying true to your boundaries. So that could be having that meeting, but then committing that your lunch break will happen at 1:00. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean saying no to the meeting, but it's meaning that don't don't let the things that are important to you slip because of other people. So
Yeah.
if holding on to that positivity is really important to you, allow yourself to feel like when you're going into that workspace and you're dealing with that stress, that you're in your little protection bubble. And there's a visualization that you can do with this, which is just that, you know, either in the morning when you're having a shower or before you switch your computer on, whatever it is for you, just visualize either putting like a kind of cloak on and you're shrouding yourself from picking up the negativity and stress from people around you, or you can picture yourself in a bubble, an actual bubble, and just imagine that anything negative, anything that might cause stress, anxiety, irritation, frustration, it just bounces off. It bounces off that bubble and it just goes out into the ether and it gets dissolved and dissipated. And just allow yourself to feel like in my bubble, everything is calm, everything is positive.
Yep.
And you know, and even if you're doing work that you don't, you know, I don't know about, you know, enjoyment of the work and stuff, I know you find it stressful, but you know, actually it's about saying, but I do this job because it pays for me to, you know, live my dreams, or it pays for me to have a roof over my head, or whatever that might be. So try and come back to why you're grateful for that job and that world and that money or whatever it is that's associated with it, you know. But so that could be helpful. Give it a go, just give it a go, and like come back and let me know, either drop me a message or put something in the group and just let us know how that works. And that's the same for everyone. If you're going into a potentially negative situation, or even a situation where there's a lot of potential negative energies, then that sort of protection visualization, you don't need to visualize it all day, but actually just visualizing it, giving yourself a few minutes to connect with it, and just visualizing yourself in that bubble, breathing, allowing yourself to almost see it like a movie, if that helps you, or just see those things pinging off, whatever that might be, or putting that cloak on, putting the hood up and, you know, coming in. That is a really, really helpful way to sort of energetically protect yourself. And also another tip that I'll give you tonight as well is, if you're coming in from an area that is negative, where there's been lots of unhelpful sort of emotion, or lots of things that you actually want to get away from, to actually just like dust yourself off. I know it seems crazy, but it's like an energetic disconnection technique. And so even just like dusting yourself off, like just almost throwing it away, and throw it away out of a window or put it into a bin or whatever, that can really, really help too.
Great idea.
I think that's just a
I'll
really
be doing a lot of that tomorrow. I'll have no clothes left on my shoulders. But thank you. That's a great idea. Thank
little
you.
top tips.
I'm definitely going to use that. Definitely.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I even forget about it sometimes, but it's a great technique. And I really wonder, because I don't know if you guys know, but we were at Legoland on Friday, and for me, that's like the busiest place I've been to in months. In months, probably since maybe last year. And it's like I didn't do really an energetic protection. I do wonder if some of my migraine was caused by like just the volume of stuff and people, and I can be a little bit susceptible to energy sometimes, and so that just completely slipped my mind. And so I do wonder whether some of that was just caused by all those different people around me and the energies and stuff. It works, I promise you. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, maybe it's not your thing.
No, it's definitely my thing.
It works.
Definitely. I'm going to be in my little protected bubble with my,
definitely.
you know,
and this
brushing
is
things
if
off.
you're going into like a difficult
Definitely.
conversation, or if there's any sort of difficulties with like family stuff, or you know, you're feeling things are a bit fractious at home, or you're going to visit somebody in hospital or something like that, those things can all apply in those situations. You can use that anywhere. And
Thanks,
then you don't need to worry about like coming out of your bubble or coming out of your robe. If you remember that, that's fine. You can do your disconnection. And if you completely forget, doesn't matter. It's not going to do any harm at all. It'll just kind of wear off over time.
Thanks, Amy. That's great.
That's all right.
Thanks, Val, for suggesting that, because that's something I've found, that I've been doing this work, which is all really positive. And then, you know, I come into these situations where somebody's a bit negative or a bit rude, and it just changes, like Val was saying. You know, you just think it just all dissipates, you know.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's super helpful.
Really useful.
And
Really.
also that line in your affirmation, Maddie, about not taking any shit from anyone. I think that's also going to help.
I love that, actually. I really love that, Maddie, and thank you for putting that out there just in its glory, because sometimes we're just a bit afraid to actually put it down on paper. We might think it, but not to put it down on paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and actually that's going to be my mantra for tomorrow, because I do know that literally at 8:01,
Yeah.
my laptop and my mobile, my work phone is going to be alive. And
Yeah.
I am going to sort of say to people, and I have said it to people before, I'm not listening to that shit today.
Yeah.
You know, I've got far too much other stuff to do, and they don't like it. But you know, my feeling about it is, if they don't like it when I'm very firm,
Yeah.
because they don't, then you know there is an alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and that's it. There is an alternative, and I'm very happy to do that. And one day I will just literally just say enough's enough.
Yeah. And that's
then-
and that's the part when we're feeling these feelings about, you know, especially like stressful work and things.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point at which you've made a decision that is a complete game changer in life, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and actually it's about doing those things at a time that feels right for you, not because you've had it up to here and enough's enough and you're making a rash decision. It's about noticing that and learning how to work with it, and then thinking, right, but what is my exit plan? What's my exit strategy?
Exactly.
That's probably a whole other session that we can
Yeah,
talk.
that's something that I'll talk to you about during our 15 minutes or whatever we've got, at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
fine. Thank you.
All right, guys, is there anything else while I'm on
Not
the
for
call?
me.
No, I have to say I'm starting to flag a little bit now. So
Yeah, I'm very tired.
yeah. All right,
And the right
amazing.
person definitely left Strictly tonight.
Oh, don't give any spoilers, just in case anyone else has.
No, but that's why I didn't say the name.
Laura, don't,
I didn't say the name. I just said the right person left, because I know Nicola watched it.
I did.
I literally had it still
Yes, I
on.
did too.
Good, right, stop the Strictly talk, just in case there's any spoilers. All
Yeah,
right, guys.
sorry.
It's been a
Same
great-
for doing tonight, even though you weren't feeling that great.
Yeah,
Ah,
thank you.
It's
Thanks,
really
Amy, yeah.
good to see you guys. It's such an important thing to have these weekly calls, and it's just not the same. If you try and change it a little bit, yes, I know there's times when that needs to happen. But I purposefully had a really restful afternoon so that I could be here for you guys. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to go to bed actually in a minute. I'm going to set this processing, but I'm probably not going to have the replay ready until tomorrow. So if you want to dive back in, it'll be ready tomorrow for you. I'll pop a little note out. And actually, Laura, just if you don't mind hanging on the end, because then I can make sure of like how best for us to stay in contact if you're not going to be in the Facebook group. So it's been amazing tonight, guys. Good work. I haven't even had the opportunity to check in with what you've progressed, proud of, and all that stuff. But I would love for you to pop a little note in the community if you felt like you wanted to. Just take a photo. If you've made your notes on that page, take a photo and upload it. Share as much as you want in there. It's your space. It's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine to do that. All right, I'm going to go. Yeah, Laura, if you don't mind hanging on for me, that'd be cool. And I will speak to the rest of you all really soon. Take care.
See you later.
Bye.